Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Benu Euphoria, and this is the Earl Grey tea. We have an Asvine, and this is a vacuum filling pen. This is the V126. We have a Majohn, and this is the Titanium. This is the TI-136. We have the Montblanc, and this is the Writer's Edition, and this is the Jane Austen. We have a Cypress Eggshell 01. We have a Cypress, or Mr. Cypress, and this is the Eggshell 05A. We have another Cypress, and this is the Eggshell 06. We have an Asvine, and this is the P80. We have a Conway Stewart, and this is the Centenary, and this is made by Henry Simpole. And we have a Parker Duofold Prestige Ruthenium Chisel. So I think let's go through these in a little bit more detail. So this is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey tea, and you probably know my history by now if you've watched a lot of my videos, that I bought one of these and I liked it so much I had a broad nib on it, and I put in the ink, which was Dominant Industry, I think it was, yes, Earl Grey tea. And then I had this one gifted to me from a subscriber, a viewer, and name of Bill, so thank you, Bill. And this is a medium nib, and I wanted a medium nib purely because I wanted to put Diamine Earl Grey in the pen, and I felt a medium nib would be a little bit better in that sense. Now I do like this. It is infused with real tea leaves. I think it is Earl Grey. I hope it's Earl Grey. I'm pretty sure it is Earl Grey. You also have some blue lavender in there as well. Beautiful pen, well engineered from Benu, and as I understand from Goulet, it is still selling. And this is what, 8-9 months on. They keep restocking it. Benu keep making more. It is a popular Benu. So this is a number 6 size Schmidt nib, and it's a medium nib. It is a cartridge converter pen, and I can post that cap, which is excellent if you are a cap poster. But you can see here it has this tea infused. It really is quite a stunning pen. I really do hope that Benu make more pens like this. They couldn't, like, I think they've made for Goulet pens like a bunch of tea and coffee themed pens. I think they could do more tea themed pens, honestly, and not maybe retailer exclusives. Like I can maybe see a Darjeeling tea pen, perhaps, maybe a matcha pen. Like there are a bunch of other tea related pens I think that Benu could make here, and I think they probably maybe wouldn't be as popular as the Earl Grey tea, but they would still be fairly popular for the people that drink that kind of tea. So it will be interesting to see if Benu take up that mantle and do create more tea and coffee related themed pens. The next pen here I have inked up is the Asvine, and hopefully you can see that there it does say V126. So V for vacuum filling pen, and I really do like this. It's hard to see on camera, and I know a lot of people said, "Oh, this looks like a clear pen." It's actually not. It's a frosted. Like if you look at the dome here on the cap finial, it is very frosted looking. So it's not a clear pen, and I think that frosted look actually entices me more to this pen. And I'm trying to think of another pen that I liked. I think in my early days of collecting, I never got one. It was a Franklin Christoph, and it was like the vintage Coke bottle version of their pen. Again, it was a frosted look. I think because I couldn't get that because it sold out within minutes every time that they had stock going online. I bought an Opus 88 Calaro demonstrator. I actually bought, I think, 3 or 4 of them. I want to say 3. My mind says 4. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really write with them. They are great pens. They got Yovo nibs, broad nibs. I think I architect ground a couple of those nibs myself. They have huge ink capacities. They are an eyedropper pen. But I don't know why I don't write with them. But I'm writing with this one more. This really is a beautiful pen. I like it. It makes me want to buy more of these frosted looks. Even in the clear, even though I have one. It comes with a number 6 size nib, and that is a medium nib, I think. I think I got it with a medium. It's an interesting pen for sure. Can I post that cap? I definitely can. I guess the issue that you have with clear caps is that you do get ink splatters inside. Sometimes the ink will get between this inner cap and the actual cap. So it is difficult to get rid of those ink splatters. That's a downside, I would say. The other thing you're going to say is that that clip doesn't align with the nib. Well, you can simply unscrew and rotate that clip. So if that happens at any point, it's not glued in, and you can do that and you can line it up. Great. I really like that, being able to do that. Not all pens, a lot of pens you cannot do that. A lot of time those finials are glued in, or the clips are recessed in to the cap with a little divot. So it's very difficult to be able to align a lot of clips on pens, but this one you can. You can do it yourself, and you can do it nice and easy. Now, the next pen is a pen that I kind of fell in love with before I bought this one, but I fell in love with a Montblanc, and it was the Martelet, and I still do not have one in my collection. I would love the Martelet with this hammered-like texture. This is a Majohn from China, and it's the TI, and I just want to, I keep getting the name wrong on this. I'm pretty sure it's a TI 136. Now, they do it in a brushed, this is titanium. They do it in a brushed-like sort of finish, and they do it in this hammered-like finish. And this really, really spoke to me. It's, when you talk about Chinese pens, you're typically talking under £40. You're talking fairly cheap in terms of pens. So £40, euros or dollars. This was about £140 for me. And again, £140, euros or dollars. Shipped from China on AliExpress. First time I ordered, and I want to say probably the last time, but I did order a couple of other pens from a different seller that were en route. The reason why I say last time buying was I asked for a medium nib, and what arrived was a long blade, what they call a long blade nib. Now, a long blade nib is normally an architect nib. This is a Fude nib. The nib is turned up, and I'll show you in a moment. Well, I can't show you exactly because I've ground the nib a bit now. But they did give me a fine nib as well. So, but this is a really beautiful pen. It is a piston filling pen. You've got the Montblanc style ink window, although you really can't see much ink there. And it comes with a lemon nib, or I typically call this lemon, although I know it's not lemon. But it's going to be hard to see, but you can probably see there's an upturn on that nib. And it is a little bit more of a Fude nib. So it wasn't the nib that I ordered, and I went back and forth. Unfortunately, the seller didn't speak English. I didn't speak Chinese. So we were relying on AliExpress app to translate between English and Chinese and back again. And after about 30 messages back and forth with them, they said, well, we'll send you the correct nib, but it's going to cost you in US dollars 0.01, so 1 US cent, which honestly, it is a good price, but I wasn't going to be prepared to spend any more money, and I'd already ground the nib because I'd kind of thought, well, I'm not sending this pen back. You can post that cap, and it posts nicely. It's a really... Titanium is normally a lightweight metal, and it is, but it still feels quite heavy. I really like this. I want to order another one. I was tempted to order the brushed aluminium look or titanium look, but I think I'd like another hammered version. And it's kind of silly because I try not to order the same pen multiple times. There are occasions when I do, but this is such a beautiful looking pen for me that I kind of would like two in my collection. So I don't know. 139, I think 137, 139 £139 it cost me. It's not cheap for a Chinese-made pen. However, when you compare it to maybe a Montblanc Martelet, which is probably £1,600 to £2,000, it certainly is a lot cheaper. So that's why I'm thinking of buying a second one. I don't know if I will, but it really, really is a nice pen. Now that I've tuned the nib, it writes really nice. The next pen I have here is a heavy pen and a large pen, and this is the Montblanc, and this is a Jane Austen. For some reason, whenever I think J, I want to say Jules Verne, and I know it's not the Jules Verne. I don't know why. I think it's just because they both start with the letter J. But this is the Jane Austen, and I wasn't going to buy this originally until I saw a comparison with a Montblanc 149, and I was like, yes. The only reason why I've gone down the Montblanc Writer's Edition route is that although they are 146 sized in the majority with a number 6 size or 146 size nib, most of the bodies are actually 149 sized, and I like the size of the 149. So I decided I would buy this one, and I used to drive past, actually for a couple of years, actually past Jane Austen's house, and it's a museum now, and I always wanted to go and visit, but it was only really open in the spring to summer, and that's when the tourist season is around, so it was always very busy, and I was always not at work at that point. But it's probably a house I might go and visit. I visited it online in a virtual tour through the pandemic, and I probably will visit at some point. But this is just a beautiful pen, very weighty. It's got the Jane Austen silhouette there on the nib. Like most Montblanc Writer's Editions, you cannot post the cap. It doesn't bother me because you can see that this is a really decent size in my hand. And that's why I like these Writer's Editions. They are actually a decent size. You do have Jane Austen's signature there on the barrel as well. And it's just a pen I really am loving. So I got that one inked up this week as well. I did a pen club recently in August, and I took a bunch of Urushi pens because Andrew Chorley from Pen Friends UK came. He bought some Urushi pens, so I figured I would pack some Urushi pens as well. So I've got a number of these inked up. I think I took a lot of my Urushi pens I didn't have inked up at the pen club because I already had about 20 pens inked up, which was a lot for me, or a lot nowadays. But this is a really beautiful eggshell pattern on the cap finial and the blind cap here with Rawdon stripes. I do like this pen a lot from Cypress, or Mr. Cypress as they used to be known as. I've got a number 6 size Cypress nib there. I've got this in a medium. It's a 14 cat gold nib. Being a flat top pen, you can't post the cap, unfortunately, and that is typical of most flat top pens. I think, I'm not sure because I don't have them, but I think I'm right in saying Sailor Pro Gear pens, you cannot poster caps, but I might be wrong. As I said, I don't have them. But typically most flat top pens, maybe the Sailors you can post, because I think, just thinking about this, I think they taper down a little bit towards the end cap, or the blind cap. The next pen inked up is this one, and this is the Cypress Eggshell 05A. I love it because of the sheer amount of duck's eggs. These are duck's eggs, not quail's eggs on Cypress pens. But again, a flat top pen there that you can see, but with three sort of striations there of Rawdon. Really makes it look nice, and it splits the Rawdon there between the cap and the body. It has a very nice glittery section, which I really like these. Please, Cypress, do more of these, because these for me are beautiful. I've got a number 6 size medium 14 karat gold nib there from Cypress. Got a little bit of ink on it. As I said, I did take these to my pen club, so they did probably get thrown around a little bit in my rucksack, even though they were probably all upright, I want to say, at the time, but you still, any kind of vibration is going to get ink out onto those nibs. The next pen here is another Cypress, and this is the Eggshell 06. This was the first Cypress I bought. I really like this look. It reminded me of the Tatcha Abbey Winter's Breath that I have, and also the Tatcha Abbey Empress Winter's Breath. Again, it's a flat top pen. You can see that there. You've got the eggshell on both ends there. But it is a flat top pen. But again, I just like these Cypress pens. Please, Cypress, if you're watching, do more of these Rawdon eggshell pens. These are beautiful. Now, this does have a little bit of a sparkly section. Not as much as the previous pen. And this is an 18 karat gold medium nib from Cypress. These two are 14 karat golds. The first pen I bought with an 18 karat gold nib. The nib was, I think, I want to say $100 or $110. And then when I bought the 14 karat gold, it was $80 US dollars. So I figured when I then bought, I think it was 6 more, or no, actually probably more than that. I think it's probably 8 more. I all went for 14 karat gold nibs because there was probably about a $30 or more saving per nib, per pen. So I worked out if I was going to buy 8 or 10 pens, if I bought the 14 karat gold nibs instead of the 18 karat gold nibs, I could actually save the amount of money for another pen. Why wouldn't I? And what's the real difference between a 14 and an 18 karat gold nib? Not a lot. Yes, there is a lot of difference between a steel and a 14 or 18 karat gold nib. But between the 14 and 18 karat gold, there isn't. The next pen inked up, I had this inked up, I think, last week. This is the Asvine, and this is the P80. So P is a piston filling pen. It is an overlay. It reminds me a lot of the Visconti Watermark and other overlay pens as well. It's very well made. I like this pen a lot. It comes with a number 6 size nib there. I got a medium nib in this one. You can post a cap, but it's not really that secure. It just rests on there. And you're resting it right on that piston knob. So I'm always wary of that. I had a friend that had a Montblanc piston brake because they had posted the cap. They don't know if that's what caused it to break, but I have heard of other people as well doing that and breaking piston filling mechanisms. So if a cap isn't designed to be posted securely and past that piston knob, then I would not post it. Purely because you're going to put some wear and tear on that piston knob, and eventually it might crack or it might snap, or you just have to be careful when you are posting caps, because in a lot of cases posting of caps has not been designed to do so. The next pen is a Conway Stewart Centenary. So glad I was able to buy this one. It's a Henry Simpole made pen. Henry Simpole was a UK silversmith. I say was because he passed away in 2020, around the heart of the pandemic. I don't know if it was for COVID. I've not seen anything online to say what he died of. He was a great UK silversmith, and he did great work. I've always wanted one of his pens since joining the pen community. And I saw this available and I pounced on it. So this is a Conway Stewart Centenary. You've got all the hallmarks around here on the cap band there. It really, really is a beautiful pen. I do like it a lot. And it is a Conway Stewart. It has one of the original Conway Stewart nibs there. This was made before Conway Stewart closed its doors. It's a decent size. I can post the cap, but it is a huge wand. I wouldn't want to. It is a cartridge converter pen, and I do like it a lot. It's a broad nib. The seller had, I think, 3 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. One sold. I bought this one, and then there were 2 remaining. Unfortunately, they were all broad nibs, or this one and the remaining 2 were broad nibs. I think I probably would have ordered it in a medium nib if I had the choice. I could grind it down, or I could have it ground down to a medium, but that broad is quite nice. It's quite wet. It writes gorgeous, and I don't want to change it, but if I had the opportunity, I probably would have bought it in a medium. And then another pen I acquired this summer was the Parker Duofoil Prestige Ruthenium Chisel. I wanted one of these for some time. It really is a nice pen. It follows the lineage of the Parker Duofoil Prestige chevrons, where you have the blue, the brown, the black, and is there another colour? Blue, brown, black. I think that's it. But this is the Ruthenium, but it's in the Chisel. And I don't think I've ever seen another colour in the Chisel. So this was one I wanted to add for a long time. I'd seen them online in Japan, but they were really silly prices. And I managed to pick this one up for a good price in the UK. This has a fine nib on it. I would have preferred medium, but this actually writes a little bit more closer to a medium. So it doesn't bother me. I can post that cap. A lot of Parkers are designed to be posted, if you're wondering. The cap is actually quite light, really. But I do like this pen a lot, and I have that one inked up with me this week as well. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up is the Benu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea. So we will do an ink swatch here. And I did mention this is not the dominant industry Earl Grey tea. This is a more classic Earl Grey tea, as in being grey. So this is the Benu Euphoria, and it's the Earl Grey tea, which is, I want to say unfortunately, a Goulet exclusive. And I say unfortunately because if you're outside the US, you've got to import them, and you've got to pay the import taxes and duty. This is a medium, but this one was gifted to me by Bill, as I had mentioned. So thank you, Bill. And it is a steel nib, a Schmidt nib. Nothing wrong with steel nibs, nothing wrong with Schmidt nibs. And the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Earl Grey tea, or Earl Grey. And that's why I wanted a medium nib, because I wanted a more conventional medium that I could write letters with. I can still write broad, but I do prefer a medium nib, or a wet medium nib. The next pen inked up is the Asvine, and this is the V126, and this is a vac filling pen. And I'm going to need to, it's got a lot of ink in here, but this pen actually does dry out quite a lot, but it's also got a locking piston mechanism. So I do kind of need to just open that up a little bit and pump it a little bit. And then it should eventually, he says, start writing. So let's give this another try. There you go. So this, I am loving this pen. I think it's also because I am loving the ink. It's a well lubricated ink, and I think this just makes it write quite nicely. So this is, and I just want to double check it is Asvine, because sometimes I get, yeah, it is Asvine. Sometimes I get these Chinese models mixed up. So it's the Asvine V126, and this is a medium, and again it's a steel nib. And the ink in here is KWZ, and it's Beef Eater Red, which is a UK Pen Show exclusive ink. It's a dark red. Typically, I'm not a fan of dark red inks, but for some reason, I just like this ink. And it might be to do with the name, Beef Eater Red, London, the Tower of London, Beef Eaters. I don't know, but I do like that ink, and I think it is more so because it is well lubricated. The next pen here is the Majohn, and this is the Titanium 136. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I said that this is a Fude nib, or it's an upturned nib. It was writing more like a Fude. I've kind of reground it a little bit, and it's more towards a broad and an architect nib. So this is the Majohn, and it's the T136. Now, this is, well, I want to call it a medium nib. It's a little bit more of a broad nib, but let me show you here. It is a little bit more architect now, and I'm going to put steel nib here. The ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey, which is the same as that one, but you can see that that nib is a little bit more architect in comparison. The next pen inked up is the Montblanc, and this is the Writer's Edition Jane Austen. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see here, I got a very nice coloured ink. It may not match the colour of the cap that much, but this is the Montblanc. And it is the Writer's Edition Jane Austen. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Pilot Iwashizuku, and it's AUG. And I really like that colour of ink. It's a little bit of a forget-me-not blue colour in terms of the flower, and I really do like that. The next pen inked up is the Cypress Eggshell 01. And we do an ink swatch here. Now, I find that in this pen, it's the same ink, but it feels a little bit more drier. So this is a Cypress, or Mr. Cypress, and it is the Eggshell 01. It's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. It does feel a little bit more drier in this pen. And maybe I just need to open up the tines a little bit. I like how this writes, but it doesn't write as maybe, or feel as wet or smooth as the Jane Austen. And then the ink in here again, as I mentioned, is Pilot Iwashizuku AUG. And whenever I show or hand this, either of those pens to people to try, they say they really like that colour ink, and I don't blame them. The next pen inked up is the Cypress Eggshell 05A. And so there was a 05 and a 5A. And the difference really was just the positioning of the Rawdon strips. I preferred the 05A, so I went with 5A. I could have gone with 5. Now, this is the Cypress Eggshell 05A, and again it's a medium and it's a 14 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Aurora and Klinger, and it's I wanted to say gold green, but it's not, it's Verdura. This is the problem with having so many pens and so many inks. It's sometimes it's like doing a math equation or a translation, translating between languages. Your mind is thinking, overdrive thinking, is it this ink? Is it that ink? I'm not entirely sure. Oh yes, it is this one. So the next pen inked up is the Cypress Eggshell 06, and this was the first one that I bought, and I do like, but I got it in an 18 karat gold nib. I do have quite a dry writing ink in here, and I probably should change the ink, or I probably should maybe open the tines a little bit more. This is a Cypress Eggshell 06, and this is a medium, but it's an 18 karat gold nib. What's the difference between a 14 and an 18 karat gold? Not a lot of difference. You're really not going to notice it. If you have two nibs, two identical nibs from the same nib manufacturer, in most cases you are not going to normally see the difference unless they've done something specifically for the 14 or 18 karat gold. The ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Apatite, which is a nice ink. It's a little bit more teal / turquoisey, more of a turquoisey green rather than a blue. I call it more of a teal colour. I'm not normally into teal coloured inks, but it's a nice ink, and I do like writing with that pen. The next pen inked up is the Asvine, and this is the P80. So we'll do an ink swatch. So this is a piston filling pen. And this is, with all Chinese nib pens, I had to adjust the nib. This is the Asvine, and it's the P80, and it's a medium steel nib pen. This pen I didn't buy myself. It was gifted to me by Dr. Joe Vitolo. The ink in here I've got is Waterman inspired, should be an S there, inspired blue. I love the pen. I love how the nib writes now. Didn't write as nicely out of the box, but I typically find that with all or most Chinese pens. The next pen inked up is a Conway Stewart Centenary, made by Henry Simpole. Now this is a broad nib, and it is a bit of a paintbrush. It feels to me a little bit more like a signature nib, or when I say signature nib, there are nibs called signature, but this is more of a nib that you would sign your signature with. So this is the Conway Stewart, and it's the Centenary, and it's a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is KWZ Grey Lux, which is a nice ink. It's a black ink. I'm tempted to put maybe something like Inspired Blue from Waterman in there. It's a black pen. I typically would go with a black or silver or grey ink because of the silver overlay or filigree. But I don't know. I'm torn with that. I want to put maybe a blue or a red or something like that in there. A light blue or a bright red. Maybe I'll do that at some point. But at the moment, I've just got black ink in there. And then the last pen inked up is the Parker Duofold Prestige Ruthenium Chisel. And we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a fine nib. If I had the option, I would have bought it in a medium nib. Technically, I did have the option, but it was about 50% more. No. It was about 100% more, actually, in price from a Japanese seller. And I wasn't going to pay that. So, this is the Parker... I'm going to say Duofold Ruthenium Chisel. But it is a Prestige, I believe. And it's a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey, which is a nice ink. It's going to come out darker in this pen than it did in those pens, though. So, I think with that, let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Benu Euphoria Earl Grey Tea in a medium steel nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have an Asvine V126 in a medium steel nib, inked up with KWZ Beefeater Red. We have a Majohn Titanium TI136 in a medium steel nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Montblanc Writer's Edition Jane Austen in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Rochizuku Ajise. We have a Cypress Eggshell 01 in a medium 14 karat gold nib, inked up with Pilot Rochizuku Ajise. We have a Cypress Eggshell 05A in a medium 14 karat gold nib, inked up with Roar and Klinger Verdura. We have a Cypress Eggshell 06 in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Pelican Edelstein Appetite. We have an Asvine P80 in a medium steel nib, inked up with Waterman Inspired Blue. We have a Conway Stewart Centenary made by Henry Simpole in a broad 18 karat gold nib, inked up with KWZ Grey Lux. And we have a Parker Duofold Ruthenium Chisel in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye-bye.